Maybe it's going to take some time, maybe longer than you hoped, maybe longer than you prayed for. But deep in your spirit, there's a quiet knowing that refuses to die, a whisper that says one day, I'm going to have everything I ever prayed for. Right now, it doesn't look like it. Right now, you're doing your best and still coming up short. You're trusting God, but the answers feel delayed. You're sowing seeds, but the ground looks empty. And sometimes you wonder if heaven even heard you. But here, this delay is not denial. The waiting season is not God ignoring you. It's God preparing you. Because if God gave you everything you prayed for too early, it would crush you. You prayed for strength, but strength is built in resistance. You prayed for wisdom, but wisdom is formed in confusion. You prayed for growth, but growth only happens when comfort disappears. So yes, it's taking time. But time is doing something inside you before it does something around you. There are prayers you prayed years ago that are still alive. God didn't forget them. He didn't misplace them. He didn't change his mind. He's aligning the right moment, the right version of you, and the right conditions, so when it finally happens, it won't just bless you, it will keep you. You see, what you're waiting for is also waiting for you to grow in patience, waiting for you to let go of fear, waiting for you to stop rushing the process and start trusting it. Because faith is not believing it will happen tomorrow. Faith is believing it will happen even if it takes time. And on the days you feel tired, on the nights you feel forgotten, remember this. Every prayer you prayed in tears, every prayer you whispered in silence, every prayer you cried out when no one was watching, they are all stored with God. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was ignored. Nothing was lost. So keep going. Keep believing. Keep trusting. Because one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, you will look back at this season and say, it took time, but God was faithful. There will come a day when the pain you're carrying now will finally make sense. A day when the tears you cried in private will turn into testimony. A day when you'll realize that the struggle was not sent to break you. It was allowed to build you. Right now, you're walking by faith, not by sight. You're believing without evidence, trusting without proof, holding on when letting go feels easier. And that kind of faith is expensive. But God only trusts heavy blessings with people who can carry weight. That's why the process is slow. That's why the road feels lonely. That's why people misunderstand your silence. They don't see what God is doing in you and no one is clapping. Some prayers are answered in pieces. First comes endurance. Then comes discipline. Then comes character. And then the blessing. Because if your character can't handle it, the blessing becomes a burden. So God stretches you. He refines you. He teaches you to stand when applause is absent, to remain faithful when results are invisible, to obey even when emotions are screaming. And here's the truth no one talks about. If it hasn't happened yet, it means you're still being prepared. Not punished, not rejected, not forgotten, prepared for a level you've never been to, prepared for doors you didn't even knock on, prepared for answers that will shock you in ways you never imagined. One day, what you prayed for will meet you at the right moment, not when you were desperate, but when you were ready. And when that day comes, you won't just celebrate the blessing, you'll honor the process, because you'll know that the waiting taught you how to pray deeper, trust stronger, and believe longer. So don't rush what God is building. Don't quit in the middle of becoming. Don't doubt the silence. He's still working. He's still listening. And He's still faithful. This isn't the end of your story. One day you will wake up and realize you didn't lose your faith in the waiting. You didn't give up when it hurt. You didn't stop believing when the nights were long and the answers were quiet. And that alone will be proof that God was with you the whole time. Because it takes God to keep going when nothing is changing. It takes God to keep praying when nothing is happening. It takes God to keep trusting when everything feels delayed. There were moments you almost walked away. Moments you questioned yourself. Moments you wondered if the promise was ever real. But something kept pulling you back. Something kept saying, "Hold on." That wasn't your strength. That was grace. Grace that carried you when you were tired. Grace that covered you when you doubted. Grace that protected you when you didn't understand. And now, look at you, still standing, still believing, still here. That's not an accident. The truth is, God does His deepest work in hidden seasons. When no one sees the sacrifice. When no one applauds the obedience. When it's just you and Him, roots grow deep in the dark. And what grows deep can't be easily shaken. The life you prayed for is closer than you think. Not because time passed, but because you changed. You learned patience instead of panic, peace instead of pressure, trust instead of fear. And when the answer finally comes, it will come suddenly, quietly, at the perfect time. You'll look back and realize the delay was protection. The waiting was alignment. The silence was preparation. So don't rush God. Don't rush your story. Don't rush the miracle. Because when it happens, it will be worth every tear, every prayer, every moment of waiting. It may take some time, but one day you will have everything you ever prayed for. And when that day comes, you'll know God was faithful, always. There will be a moment when you stop begging God for signs, because you'll become the sign. A sign that waiting did not weaken you. A sign that patience did not waste you. A sign that faith did not fail you. You'll realize that the season you wanted to escape was the season that shaped your backbone. It taught you how to stand alone, how to pray without noise, how to trust God when emotions were screaming the opposite. You didn't just wait, you learned. You learned how to keep your heart clean when life was unfair, how to keep showing up when motivation disappeared, how to worship even when the outcome was uncertain. That's maturity. That's growth. That's preparation. God was teaching you how to carry what you asked for. Because blessings don't only change your life, they expose your heart. So He taught you humility before elevation, stillness before speed, obedience before overflow. And now what once felt like delay will start to feel like divine timing. You'll notice doors opening without forcing them, peace replacing panic, confidence replacing fear, not because life got easier, but because you became stronger. The prayers you whispered in broken moments are turning into foundations. The lessons you learned in silence are becoming wisdom you'll live by forever. And when people see the life you're walking into, they won't know the nights you cried. They won't know the battles you fought alone. They won't know how many times you almost quit. But you will know, and God will know, and that's enough. So if you're still in the waiting, stay faithful, stay grounded, stay patient. You're not behind. You're not late. You're not forgotten. You're being prepared for a life that will require strength, gratitude, and grace. It may take some time, but the version of you being built right now is ready for everything you ever prayed for. This is not the delay. This is the becoming. One day the waiting will end, and not because you forced it, not because you figured everything out, but because God decided the moment was right. And when it happens, it won't announce itself with noise. It will feel calm, steady, certain. You'll realize you're no longer desperate for what you once begged for, because God changed your heart before He changed your situation. That's how you'll know it's real. The blessings will come, but they won't own you. The doors will open, but they won't distract you. The prayers will be answered, but they won't replace your faith. Because somewhere in the waiting, you learned how to trust God more than outcomes. You learned that God is not just the reward, He is the relationship. You'll look back at the nights you cried, the days you felt stuck, the seasons you questioned everything, and you'll realize God was closer then than ever before. He was teaching you how to walk by faith, not emotion, how to stand on truth, not feelings, how to praise Him without proof. And that kind of faith changes everything. The life you prayed for will come, but so will something even deeper. Peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. Joy that doesn't fade when things get quiet. Confidence rooted in God, not results. You'll stop chasing validation. Stop comparing journeys. Stop rushing timelines. Because you'll know what God gives you, no one can take from you. And when people ask how you made it through the waiting, you won't have fancy answers. You'll just say, I trusted God, even when it took time. So if you're still in that season right now, hold on a little longer. Pray a little deeper. Trust a little stronger. Because what's coming is not just an answered prayer. It's a transformed you. It may take some time, but one day you will stand in the middle of everything you once prayed for and realize God was never late. He was always faithful, and the wait was worth it. And this is the promise.